right. So when we last left off in this crazy story of dysfunction, mercy, and grace, we had just moved to Terabella, and we had clients kicking out the car windows. We fell asleep in our Chinese food in this home that was just amazing. And here we were with our little guy, Isaac, and life was going along, and I was continuing to take ongoing education with the residential services specialist, and we were helping our special folks at the time. The talking lingo was developmentally disabled or challenged, and Dennis and I were finding out basically he was a helper. He would do writing for me, different things, and was so amazing. It definitely took two for the work that we were doing that was 24/7. And the next thing I knew, here I was pregnant again. And along came, actually turned out to be our content creator, our middle son, Isaiah. And Isaiah's birth, unlike Isaac's, was over railroad tracks and crazy. I talk about this because these are some of the reasons that kept us going when we were working through the other crazy parts of life that made no sense. Something about having a child and the trust that comes with knowing that they're loved and cared for. It was really funny. I had a little precious grandma who we kept going back and forth and back and forth. And this son, instead of being 3 weeks early, actually turned out to be what the doctors told me were 3 weeks late. And once again, we had decided to have this baby in a hospital 40 minutes away. And we would run back and forth to my little grandma, Sarah Franks, and we would go play cards, and we would do this and that. And we were trying, weren't drinking as much or different things, but we were just trying to get through life and grow. And here I kept having these fake false alarms, back and forth, driving you crazy, driving myself crazy. And one day Grandma looked at me and she said, "You need to eat pizza and drink beer." And so
and go over the railroad tracks.
No, that was Isaac.
Same thing. You did over the acre.
So it was really
How
funny.
old was Isaac at that time?
The boys are about a year and a half apart.
Okay.
And so, long story short, we had gone back and forth so many times to Visalia that we had been in town all day, waiting for me to go into labor. 3 weeks late, wasn't happening. And the doctor finally said, "Just go home again." We got home. I will never forget, at that time we were living in a loft and I had to go up these itty bitty steep stairs. And we
weren't living in a loft.
Well, and in the house.
In the house that had a loft.
Right.
And we weren't living up there.
Well, I mean, it's where we slept.
Okay.
And so I'm picturing this pregnant woman going up these steps, which is what the situation was.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had just laid down, and boy, I got hit with real labor pains, not the Braxton Hicks, not the fake news. And I said to Dennis, "Oh my God, we got to go." And he's like, "No, go back to sleep. I'm not doing this." And it took about a minute and a half for me to get through to him and make him realize I wasn't joking. So back we ran to Visalia. And in just a few short hours, Isaiah Lane Nickell came into the world. And my husband wanted me to show you, we have the cutest picture of, that was our two boys while we were in Terabella. And
my favorite picture.
Your favorite picture. And Dennis said, "You have to be sure and show that." So anyway, so life was going on. We were reaching out.
You didn't talk about the doctor we paid all that money to, that his part of the job was catching him.
Oh, that was funny. Well, he caught him.
Do you remember?
Yeah, he only did 2 minutes of work.
He wasn't even there.
Right.
And the nurse was taking care of you.
Right.
And by the time it was time to have the baby, he told her, "Diana, you should teach ballet so her legs are really strong." And so she's starting to push for the nurse. And I mean, we believe that baby probably would have popped out because he was coming.
They told me
and
stop.
The doctor told her, no, don't do that yet. And she looked at him like, "You've got to be kidding." And he says, "Well, I got to get my gloves on.
You don't stop
first." And all this kind of stuff. I thought, who is this guy? So he gets down like a catcher in baseball. waiting for Zay to pop out of there, and Zay comes diving out of there.
2 pushes.
Yeah, he had all this black hair like Elvis Presley. I mean, all our kids
That's why I showed that picture.
All our kids had long hair, but he had a ton of hair. We won't talk about where he's at now, but when he was born, he was like me. Tons of hair, but now we're both in trouble. But anyway, he was a beautiful baby. Oh, man, all the nurses. Oh, my God, can I hold him? Let me look at this baby. Do you remember? They all came. They all came to look at how beautiful he was. And I can remember when we were taking him out to the car, the nurse had him. I don't remember her name, do you?
Duffy.
Duffy. She was an older nurse.
Grandma named Duffy.
And that woman, that was her baby. That was her baby. She was showing all them nurses. So when the dad wants to hold his baby, nah, get away from me. You can't hold him.
She wouldn't let you touch him.
It was cold outside, I remember, and he was bundled up. I said, give me that baby. She said, no, can't touch him right now. I looked at her and I said, father, nurse, baby, now. She gave me that baby. I thought, what the hell? What is wrong with her? Maybe she was going to kidnap you.
She was going to put him directly in the car seat.
Well, so was I.
Well, I know.
I know how to do that. I had a kid already.
She was in charge.
Anyway, oh my God, she didn't want me to have my own baby. But once again, the cigars and oh my God, everybody. This is my new baby. He's beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. I was king of the world again. Go ahead. Take us to 84.
Well, that was 1983. And we got more folks. And pretty soon we turned around and we had 6 folks, 2 babies, great income, had absolutely no idea how to handle money. I remember one story where we had spent way more at the first of the month and hadn't saved anything. And a wash machine went out. And my poor mother said, I called her. And we were making $6,000 a month, and I'm talking 1984. And I said, we need help signing. We need to get a washer on credit, and we need help. And she said, you need help? They were like, only $200 for a washer. She goes, you need help for a washer? Don't you make $6,000 a month? Yeah, but we're out. I need your help. And I was really mad that she questioned my finances. But you need to understand, with where Dennis had come from and I had come from, if we had it, we shared it, and we put it out there, and we shared it with everybody, and it just, life was what it was. And that was when my husband said to me, he came home one day and said, God said I'm to have a Harley. And I said,
that isn't quite how it happened.
That's exactly what you said.
He didn't say I was to have a Harley.
That's what you said.
I said, is it okay if I get a Harley? And he said, it's okay. That's what I heard. And so when we got home, I said, Diana, God said I've been doing so well. I asked him if I could have a Harley. He said, you can have a Harley. And so he just wanted me to tell you that. And so what do you think?
So the same couple who couldn't afford the $200 wash machine went out and committed to a brand new 1984 lowrider Harley for my husband. So to help his stress, because
purple,
he could get on the bike and run away and feel better.
Purple and silver.
It was gorgeous.
Off the showroom floor. I went and sat on it, and oh my God, I died and went to heaven. And I said, sold to the guy. And so I remember I grew up driving what we used to call mini bikes. I've been on a Honda 50 before a couple times. And so they said, drive it out of here. I remember this like it was yesterday. And fear overcame me. And I said, drive it out of here? Well, yeah, you just bought it. You got to drive it home. Can't you guys drive it out of here and get it outside? Put me in a straight line, let me go. okay, I'll do that.
You just bought it. You need to ride it.
Scared the crap out of me. Big old motor. Honda 50. And I'm going, okay, this is the dream I wanted. I can remember. Okay, now I'm coming up to a stop sign. What do you do here? You got to let off the gas. Use the brake. I didn't know whether you use the handbrake, the foot brake, what. So I'm probably going 2 miles an hour. I didn't want to let that clutch out, and I got to that stop sign. Put your foot down. Hold it up. Okay, now what do I do? I want to put it in gear.
You made it.
Found the first gear. Let me see, probably 1 down, 4 up, just like a little old Honda. Put it in first gear, let that clutch out slowly, because I knew from riding a Honda, you let that clutch out too fast, it's going to hop like crazy and die, and you're going to fall down, and it's not good. So let that clutch out real easy. And I was following you one night.
You made it.
So I knew, I thought, this is easy. It's just, a bigger bike is actually easier than riding like a Honda 50 or a Honda, because it's really balanced because it's so heavy. If you can get going, you're good. I mean, it really handles better than these little tiny things that are they wobble and they're off balance and blah, blah, blah. So a big bike, I found out, was really a lot easier. So it didn't take me long to enjoy it. Anyway, go ahead. Where were you?
No, just how embracing the bike and thinking that we were doing a help for a relief and a release from the other things that were going on. All of a sudden, within about 2.5 weeks of buying this motorcycle, all of a sudden, the black sunglasses were back on 24/7. Dennis would go and say he was running to the store for an hour and wouldn't come back for 6. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And that's what you need to share. What the heck was going on and what happened? The setup was kind of on top of the bike, because we were the way we were financially is our check was supposed to come once a month. And we had discovered that since we were always coming right down to the wire, we discovered that if the agency put our check in the mail, it could take an extra week, but they would allow you to go to Fresno to go pick up the check. And so when it was payday, I would always call them and say, hold it, don't put it in the mail. Dennis is going to come up and pick up the check. And
so how old was Isaiah then?
6 months, maybe.
He was 6 months. And when was our anniversary? In
August.
In August. So this is about August.
Mm-hmm.
What year was it? 84.
Mm-hmm. Around then.
So August 1984. I'm going to kind of pick up the story from my perspective. So Isaiah was 6 months. Isaac was a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And like she says, I would go pick up the checks. Well, I had this, by then the Harley, had we sold the Harley by then?
No, not for a while. You had 2 events. You had one where you picked up a check and you didn't come back for hours and you had gone to Bass
I thought
Lake.
I'd already told that story, but anyway.
No.
We're talking 50 years ago here.
Yeah.
So, like she says, at the time I started hitting bars again while I rode, which is insane. Because I used to ride really fast when I'd get drunk, really fast. It's like I had a death wish or something. From all the issues from Vietnam, I was still struggling with rage, violence. Not getting in altercations still, because I was getting a little older. I was growing a little bit here and there. But I was still having problems dealing with these mental issues from Vietnam. So I would try to drown them with alcohol. Any kind of pills, weed. I'd meet someone at a bar and we'd smoke weed. But one night on the lowrider, I was coming home. And I can remember I was coming from Visalia, California to Terra Bella, where we lived. I don't know how many miles that is. 20, whatever. But I remember being on this country back road, and I can remember being so angry. And I was gassing that Harley as hard as I could. And I was just in living hell here on earth still. And I couldn't get that thing to go fast enough. And I kept getting madder and madder. And I mean, that speedometer was buried back in the day, either 110 or 120. But I just didn't care. I was on back roads and I was so angry and so mad. And I'd been drinking, and I used to drink. Back in the day, I drank tequila with beer backs. But now I was drinking vodka. And I'd go to these bars and drink vodka. And so when I got home, don't even know how I got there. Called blackouts. Didn't even know how I got there. But I got there, got off my bike, went in the house, and we had this big, long fireplace, mountain rock, beautiful fireplace. And I sit down on the hearth, what's it called? Anyway, a little bench thing.
The hearth. Mm-hmm.
Made out of the same rock as the fireplace. And I can remember looking up, and I was so ashamed. I didn't understand. God had given me these two beautiful babies, this beautiful home, a way to make a living. We were taking care of these folks who were totally rewarding to us. We got more from them than we gave to them. They were like our own kids. We truly loved these little guys. Had their own little personalities. But I'm staring at my little guy, and I remember back in the day, Isaiah had a little Oakland Raider outfit. I was a Raider then, Raider fan, and he had this little sweatshirt and little sweatpants, but he just seemed like he was like this big, because he was only like 6 months. And I think Isaac had a 49er
He was 49ers.
jersey, and he was like a year and a half. And I heard this in my mind. I heard, if you keep doing that, and you're going to die. And I heard it as clear as if her and I were talking. And it like shocked me. And right then I thought, wow, I have to change something. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and not changing something. Yeah. And so I said to Diana that night, I think it was that night, maybe it was the next day, I don't care, 50 years ago.
It was that night.
But I looked at her, and it broke my heart looking at my little people, my little guys. And it was like my thoughts were, is that booze and your fear and your anger and your rage and all your issues from Vietnam, is that more important than them two little guys? And, no contest. I told Diana to sell that bike. And it shocked her. I said, I had my dream, motorcycle. I said, sell that thing. Mm-hmm. And so she was like shocked. Are you sure? I said, yes, sell it. My older brother bought it, and he resold it. But as life went on, still battling issues, I went to Diana, and I'm, my devious mind, I'm still not too much together.
Manipulative.
Yeah, still I went to her and I said, oh, man, that was really hard giving up that bike, She's looking at me and said, oh, man, I really think we need to go down and look at some pickups.
I was so nice.
at the car lot, because we have an acre here, and I'm hand. I used to be a landscaper. I'm hand, landscaping this place, and trenching.
You need a truck.
And I need a truck. You never know. You have to throw a trench in there. You have to throw dirt in there.
Big shovel.
I'm making horseshoe pits and all this stuff, all for the kids. Gotta have a truck, and one big enough to seatbelt them guys in, I gotta have it. So we go down there and buy a brand new, I think it was an 82.
84.
Oh, 84.
Silverado Chevy stepside. Cream color.
Two-tone.
Brand new off the showroom.
Short bed, stepside, gorgeous. That was my other dream, to have a pickup. right? So I get the baddest pickup in Porterville, right? Gorgeous, beautiful thing. So I'm running around with these issues still. So I still don't get it. Well, I wasn't on the bike, but now I was in a truck, but the bars were still there. So I go to a bar, I get smashed again, and I'm feeling total rejection. I mean, conviction, because by this time, if you guys have followed these stories, we had some friends that owned the Travel Lodge. We talked about it in Visalia, California. And so at this time, I was still drinking, but the flashback of knowing these people that I'd met that owned the Travel Lodge, he was like, he was a friend of my brother's who was a bartender, and his name was Reed, and he was an alcoholic like me, and he used to golf with my brother. So this is going to get a little dramatic here, but I was flashing back to this, and then I'll get back to the story with the pickup. When I had first met my wife, we'd been together 3 weeks, and I asked her to go buy me a bottle of vodka. And then she said, what? And I said, buy me a bottle of vodka. And I started getting more agitated, and this is when I drank every day. We had just met. And she said, I don't think you need a bottle of vodka.
It's 8 in the morning.
And I said, go get me a bottle of vodka. And it was like a struggle. She was standing firm. I'm not going to help you be drunk. I'm not going to go get you a bottle of vodka. And it really concerned her. So I start coming upstairs, and I'm getting angry because I barely knew her. And I still had tons of violence in me. And remember in my story, I wasn't too fond of women as it was because I'd had some bad relationships.
Heartbreak.
And so I didn't trust them. I didn't know what her motive was. I didn't understand because she would be getting drunk with me. But all of a sudden, she's putting these rules out, right? And I didn't trust her because I didn't know her very well. I only knew her 3 weeks. So I kept telling her, go get me vodka, and I kept getting madder and madder. And that violence started coming back up. And she saw that in my eyes for the first time. Remember, she didn't know me. And so she started looking like, there's something wrong with this guy. So I walked to her kitchen of her parents' house. This was in her parents' house. And I picked up a butcher knife that long. And I walked back in the living room, and I said, get me some vodka or I'm going to kill you. And I'm talking about real life, real stuff here. Remember, I didn't know her from Adam. And I was peaking from all my bad relationships, life. I'd been back from Nam quite a while and homeless for a long time. Mm-hmm. And your flesh and mind, I'm thinking, how dare her mess with me? She don't know who I am and who she's messing with. It wasn't me. Something in there was acting out to the point of murder, which, they train you in the army, go murder people, go kill people. That's actually what you're doing in the war. You're killing someone you don't even know because they killed your friend or whatever reason you thought at 18 years old. They turned us into killers and then expected us to be normal when we got back. Oh, this is easy. I'll pick up a knife and just kill her. I don't like what she's doing and what she's saying to me. So I had that knife back, just ready to plunge it in her. And she remembered when she was a young girl. This lady from the Travel Lodge was a Christian lady, and her name was Lori. And she had taught my wife everything she knew about Christianity. Of course, I didn't know anything. But this is God, you can believe it or not, this is a true story. She used to work for this lady at the Travel Lodge. And she remembered that she was a Christian lady, and she knew she was in trouble. She had might as well been a stranger standing over her with a butcher knife ready to kill her. And she just, you can say what you want, but a little phone number dropped in her mind that she used to call all the time because she worked there. And she memorized, Diana was an actress and used to have to memorize lines and was a very good actress. And she had a memory that was great when she was 23 years old. And that memory of that phone number came back to her, and she called this lady. And she said, my God, she says, I have a man in my house, and he's trying to kill me. And she said, what? The lady on the other end, what did you say? And Diana hadn't talked to her in 2 years or whatever. And so it was a shock to her in the first place, even to hear from Diana. And then for her to say something like that, the lady said, drop what you're doing. Don't say anything to him to continue provoking him. She was older. She was, what?
20 years older than us.
20 years older than us. So she had a little maturity. Leave that guy alone. And this part I didn't get. Put him in the car. If you can get him in the car and bring him over here. I hear this story later in my life. I thought she was nuts. That lady was crazy. Put him in the car and bring him to where I'm at. And so Diana coaxed me down the stairs of her mother's house saying, come on, we're going to go. And I thought she meant go get some vodka at the store. So, of course, I went with her. Come on, I'm going to take you to the store. So I get in this car with her. And on the way to this place where we were traveling to, I reached and grabbed the steering wheel and tried to crash us both. I tried to take us out. And it didn't work. She whacked my hand away or whatever and kept going. And so I finally, where are you going? Where are you taking me? I started getting suspicious. I thought we were going to the store. Oh, I have to stop here for just 1 minute. I have to run in. I don't know if she said to borrow some money from the lady or what. She made up an excuse. You can wait in the car. So we pull into this travel lodge, and she goes in, and I'm sitting there, and I'm needing a drink. What the hell is that lady doing in there? So she comes out, and she goes, hey. She said, why don't you come in? There's a friend of yours in here. Friend of mine, who are you talking about? She goes, Reed Freeland. Reed's in there? And I'm thinking, I can get a drink. He's my drinking buddy. He'll have a whole fifth sitting there. I'll be there in a minute. I'm getting ready. And so I go in, I follow her in. Sure enough, Reed's sitting there. And he just looked at me, and of course he knew what was up. He said, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And now I'm kind of looking suspicious. I'm okay, dude. How you doing? When's the last time you saw my brother? That kind of conversation. Oh, we just golfed together last week or whatever. And so we're kind of sitting there a minute, and I'm thinking, should I ask this guy for a drink? Because I got to have a drink. And he's my buddy, and he was the funniest guy when we used to drink together. So this lady there, in my mind, I'm thinking, who's this lady? She looks weird. She's looking at me kind of weird. And she looked at me and she goes, so, she goes, I hear you're having problems.
Honey.
She called everybody honey. Honey, I hear you're having problems. And I look at Diana like, what did you tell her? And I go, nothing wrong with me. What do you mean having problems? Honey, that's not what I heard. I heard you need help. What kind of help? I was in trouble. I was trapped by a religious nut, right? What kind of help are you talking about? Well, honey, I think blah, blah, blah. And I looked at everybody in the room and it hit me. I've been sabotaged. I've been trapped here and somebody's going to try to psychoanalyze me and all I need is a drink. And I looked at her, eyewitnesses, and I looked at Reed, and I looked at Diana, and I said, I'm going to kill everybody in here. You're going to what? I said, I'm going to kill everybody in here. I mean, kill you. And she, oh, honey, no, you're not. And she walked over. This lady, true story, puts her hands on my head and starts praying. And my friend Reed, I didn't know it, but he had become a Christian. He joins her. And he gets his bottle of oil. So I didn't know what that. These people are psychotic nuts. He gets his bottle of oil, and they're all praying with their hands on my head. It knocked me like to my knees. And I thought, what is, in my mind, what the H is going on? What am I doing here? I was totally in fear. I was freaked out. This violent thing, it was like I just became like totally weak. Like I couldn't do anything. And I remember falling back into this couch, and I was sweating like crazy. It was summertime, but they had the air on in there. Mm-hmm. And I'm pouring with sweat, and I'm going, like, what just happened? And she said, honey, I know what you need. You know what I need? You need Jesus. And I said, she said, would you like Jesus to help you? You need help. And you're at your end. Do you need him to help you? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, you don't have to. You don't have to know anything. She said, all you have to do is ask him to help you.
Ask.
And there was nothing religious about it. He wasn't religious. There was nothing religious about it. I just was at the point where I tried everything else on earth, drugs, you name it, women, violence, jail. I was at my end. I needed help from the Vietnam days. I needed help from the drug days, from violence days. I needed help. And I had two beautiful sons and a beautiful wife, and been blessed like I could. No, I didn't have the sons yet at this point.
You're looking.
But I needed him. The sons came later, but he knew what I needed. He knew what I needed. I didn't know. All I knew is I was not doing well in this life at all. And so I repeated after her. And I can remember them saying stuff. I don't know what they were saying, you know. They were saying a lot of stuff that I didn't even have coherency what they were even talking about. All I knew is something happened. We went outside and we got in the car, I remember, and my past was military, jail, high school, you know, craziness, blah, blah, blah. And every other word for a man when you're that young and lived in the circles I lived in was an F-bomb. F you, F that, F this, F that. Men in the military out there know what I'm talking about. And the smoking was just part of the deal. So I can remember going outside and I thought, something happened in there. Because immediately, critical, like, what the heck was all that about? And so I noticed I wasn't cussing. And I thought, this is really what she'll tell you. I mean, every other word is F-bomb. I would have been saying, who the F, what the F was that about? That was not there. My mind couldn't comprehend it, but it wasn't coming out of my mouth. And so I need a drink. First thing that hit me, I need a drink. Dinah, take me to my brother's bar quick. That was like Star Wars. This, I ain't going for this. Give me some vodka. Quick. So she would drive me down to my brother's bar. The Depot was the name of it. And he sees, every time my brother saw me coming, oh, here comes trouble. He's going to tear up my bar, get in a fight, and oh my God, I'm going to have to throw him out and cut him off when he's had too much. Just a hassle. Here comes my brother, the numb nutcase, is how he would tell you that today. So here, there's his little eyes. Dinah actually worked for him as a cocktail waitress there. So we get in there and we sit down, and I look at my brother and I say, give me a Coke. Mm-hmm. And whatever you want. Diana. She got whatever she wanted. And he looked at me, he said, as only people that know my brother can do, really smooth, well, probably the best bartender in this whole town. He looked at me and he said, "What the hell's wrong with you?" More his very words. And I said, "Dude, I don't know. I got to go to the bathroom." So I went to the bathroom, and these people coming from the bar having to go to the bathroom and stuff. I said, "Excuse me," to somebody, held the door open for somebody, and I'm thinking, oh, what just happened to me? This is so weird. So I go back out and I said, "Pat, yeah, you didn't tell me Reed was a Christian guy now, Reed Freeland." "Oh, yeah, he's been talking that crap to me for," what did he say? "He's been talking that crap to me forever.
Oh, wow.
Trying to get me to be like that." And I said, "Yeah, well, what about it?" And I go, "Well, he must be a good salesman because he sold me." And he goes, "Thank God." Remember that? "Thank you, Lord." He wasn't even a Christian. "Oh, thank God." He said, "Whatever helps, brother, I'm for it." I remember them were his words. Yeah. And I said, "Well, all I can say is that's what happened, right?" So anyway, there's a reason I went back there. I'll go back now to our story. Mm-hmm. And I ended up convincing her to get that beautiful truck. Mm-hmm. So I'm out partying in that beautiful truck, thanking God for this beautiful truck. Give me another shot. So I'm driving home, and now I'm getting enraged again. And to this day, if I drink a lot of booze, I'm sure the issues might resurface. Even though I've been a Christian for I don't know how many years, they might resurface. I'm not guaranteed of that. Because we hear voices, and you either obey what you're hearing or you don't. So anyway, I get home. Now my wife, and there's another reason I went back there. My wife, by this time, both of us were so grateful for what God had done for us. She was an LA bartender, LA dancer, blah, 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 actress. She lived a life of hell just like I did. And that's what we had in common. I know people wonder, how could they're a mismatch? No, she had a very dark past too. And so when we became saved, we felt like we owed God everything that we had to give him back. We were so grateful because we were so evil and he had given us so much. My babies were my life. And I was still
hurting,
very convicted about what he had given me. And so but I didn't know how to quit the addictions. I had no idea how to get away from this booze and convictions, the drugs, and the way I even treated her. But at this time, she was teaching Bible studies. The lady I was talking about, Lori, taught us for 2 years. She drove to our home and personally taught us the Bible. We didn't go to a church building. We were taught from the Bible. She was a missionary. She had babies in the jungle. So this woman had walked the book of Acts. That's who we were getting taught by. And Diana, she just loved God and loved Lori and was so grateful for our life that she taught. Every chance she could get, she taught and ministered to young ladies, heroin addicts, you name it. We were street people. We'd go find people in the street that were heroin addicts, and we'd bring them home. And they'd live in our home. And we'd try to help them until they got on their feet, and then we'd try to help them to where they were going. And so Diana taught the Bible, so she knew the Bible well, and I would go to these Bible studies, but I couldn't control myself with the alcohol and all this stuff. So that night when I got home in that truck, it all manifested. We had this big chandelier of glass. And I walked in and I just busted every lamp chandelier that was in the living room. I busted it to pieces. I was so mad at God. And there was a picture of Jesus, a traditional one, over our fireplace. It was huge. And I took it and I just busted it. And my sons were watching all this stuff. My little babies were watching this acting out. And I was crying out to God. And I said, I can't stop this. Why haven't you helped me? And we had this mountain, thick fireplace, this big, and I was punching it.
It's wrought iron.
Punching it and yelling, like cussing God out. Blood was splattering everywhere, and I just kept punching and punching. And God spoke to Diana and said, get the boys out of here. Remove the boys. So she took the boys to the other room. And she came out and bandaged my hands. And I told her what my issues were. And this voice said, go in the backyard and empty out your alcohol, your bottles of vodka. He said, even in the hiding places, under the couch, in the tree, I had hiding places in the barn. I mean, I could get a sneak pop whenever I needed it. And here's the God's truth. You can believe it or choose not to, but this is what happened to me in my life, in her life. For 25 years, I never touched a drop of alcohol. Never touched another drug. Never smoked another joint. Never took another pill. And for 25 years, he kept his word. Took my cigarettes away. No addiction to cigarettes anymore. I mean, God did his part. And with all these series, I said to God, I'll talk about this when you say. But I can tell you right now, it's all the stories before this were leading up to this. And I knew it was going to happen, but you guys have to know what our life's really about. And there's a ton more that we have to share. But you guys that are at your end, what worked for me in my life, you just heard it. So if you're suicidal, if you just can't deal with alcohol problems, trust me, this worked for me. Just ask. Thanks for listening.